Hi folks, welcome to Plan to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. My name is Joshua Bissell, and I'm the producer of this weekly podcast, where we tackle topics of abuse prevention and vulnerable sector protection. We're so thankful that you've chosen to spend your time working towards the protection of the vulnerable and safeguarding those who are in our care. We trust that this time will be beneficial to you. Thank you again for joining us for Plan to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. Here's Melodie.
Hello. So good to be back with you. This past week, I was on vacation and I was taking care of my 9-month-old grandson. He is one little busy guy. He loves to climb. On a Monday, he learned how to crawl. On Tuesday, he learned how to climb stairs. On Wednesday, he wanted to be climbing mountains. The problem is he hasn't quite learned how to go downstairs yet. And he has not yet learned how to even sit without falling and bumping his head. So we had to watch him all the time. It was like at all times our eyes were on him. As a mother, I have taken my role as a parent very seriously. As a person of faith, I believe that God has entrusted my children into my care, and at times my grandson into my care. What an awesome and sometimes scary calling. I think one of the roles that our parents of the children that we take care of really want from us is to provide a safe environment for our children. That isn't something that we should have as an afterthought, but something that is one of our values, something that is one of the things that we really take seriously. It is always forefront in our mind. Have you ever been to visit one of those old medieval castles where they have a watchtower? From the vantage point of the tower, the guard or the sentinel may observe the surrounding area. As a mother, I would consider one of my responsibilities to be a guard, to see who could bring harm to my child and to protect my child at all time. The term safeguarding involves keeping our children and our vulnerable adults that are entrusted into our care safe from abuse, harm, injury, maltreatment, ensuring that they have the very best outcomes and are provided the safe and effective care that we are able to help them grow and develop into healthy and mature individuals. This really is one of our responsibilities under our duty of care. One aspect of safeguarding is empowering those individuals and encouraging them to make decisions and speak up if they do not give consent for something to take place. I often would encourage my children to speak up if they felt that there was something happening that was wrong. As part of safeguarding, we do not view safeguarding as what is the minimum we have to do, or what is just reasonable steps to prevent abuse from happening. Rather, it is recognizing that one of our primary responsibilities in being entrusted with the care of this child or vulnerable adult is to prevent abuse, injury, and harm from happening. To not neglect our responsibilities, to not take our eye off the child or the individual that has been entrusted into our care. It is to promote their well-being and take their views, their wishes, their feelings, and their beliefs into account. Speaking up for the vulnerable, for the oppressed, is one of our primary roles and goals. The unmarked graves found of children that died in the care of government and faith-run residential schools is mind-boggling to so many of us. Under the United Nations Rights of the Child, which is the most ratified of all the United Nations human rights treaties. The treaty affirms and describes the fundamental rights of all children, all human beings under the age of 18. The governments that have legally ratified the treaty have committed to its provisions. The rights of a child are the most comprehensive and well-established international standards for the rights of an individual. The protection of children and youth is one of the 4 themes throughout the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of a Child, which entered into force as international law on September 2nd, 1990. To date, over 190 countries have ratified the Convention on the Rights of a Child. They've included these as part of their laws within their country. The countries include every country in the world except for United States and Somalia. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child requires us to provide special protection and assistance to children to enable them to reach their full potential. While parents are primarily responsible for their protection and ensuring the rights are upheld, the governments also identify that both the government and the community agencies and organizations have an important role in protecting children. All articles under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of a Child include the protection of children and helping them grow in a safe environment. Children have the same inherent rights as an adult, and they are to be considered equals. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was officially established June 1st, 2008. The purpose of that was documenting the history and lasting impacts of the Canadian Indian residential school system on Indigenous students and their families. Little did we know in 2008 the extent of the impact of what transpired in those schools. We have just started to discover the bodies of children that were killed in those schools. Who was standing in the watchtower of those schools? Was it the clergy? Was it the teachers? Was it the parents? No, they were not even given the choice to stand in the watchtower for their children. Safeguarding bears so much responsibility. Who is responsible for safeguarding within your organization? I truly believe that every organization should empower all their personnel to be standing in the watchtower, safeguarding the children. But I also believe within every organization, whether you're a nursing home, a school, a camp, a daycare, a sporting league, a church, a mosque, a temple, there should be one person that is the champion, not primarily responsible, but the champion to ensure that that watchtower is being monitored at all times. Parents, do not just entrust your children into the care of anyone without asking really tough questions to ensure that watchtower is being guarded at all times, that there's someone who's watching out for the safety of your children. Board members, administrators, senior leaders, ministers, teachers, volunteers, will you heed the call of safeguarding? In another podcast, we will discuss how much safety is too much safety. We'll also talk about risky play. But today I want to leave you with the challenge that every organization should have a watchtower, that it should be monitored at all times, that there should always be someone on guard. Parents, you've been entrusted with the care of your children. It is your primary responsibility. So when you entrust the care of your children to someone else, please ask the appropriate questions. Please screen and train those that will be entrusted to the care of your precious children and loved ones. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Have a great week. Come back next week. We will be talking about duty of care.